and welcome to the Paradigm Shift, episode 171, with not one, but two phenomenal guests on today. But first, my partner in crime, Big Dave. Let's get this party started, baby. How you all doing in the chats? Let me know. Current state 1 to 10. What are you most excited about? And what do you have going on this weekend? Dr.Patrick, going to bring you on in less than five. And we're going to get this party started. Big Dave, I see you. Let's bring you on, and then we're going to bring on two phenomenal guests. Dr. Patrick, then Whiz. Let's do this. You're most excited about in the chats right now, big or small, doesn't matter. Big Dave, and I do mean big. I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
You hear me?
You never sounded better.
I'm a couple minutes from my house, so you have to get warmed up before I get home. I got caught at the car wash.
Understood. Are you driving?
Say again?
Are you driving?
Shit. Say it one more time.
Are you driving?
No, I'm just looking like I'm driving.
I've never seen you drive. This is a big moment.
Nobody has. I have a driver at almost all times. So, yeah, it's very rare. But I had to take care of some things. I got back from New York, and my daughter's car was an absolute mess, and I thought I'd be back before 7:30 after my workout. But they had a little snag in the routine.
Okay.
You know, student of the calendar, you got to use your time wisely.
Of course. Absolutely.
But I'll be in my office in 2 minutes. Anyway, what do you got for me while I get there?
Yeah, before we bring on our first guest, how was New York? Great to see you.
Yeah, you know, we set a record for the biggest meetup. It was incredible. We had over 100 people in Times Square launching the collab with Dane Cook. And it's so nice the community shows up for each other. The stories keep going on. While we were in New York, I had people in Louisville, I had people in Miami, I had people in LA, in our neighborhood doing their own thing. And also in Texas, I had Dan Fleischman and Tia. So, you know, it's so nice that, you know, we were a full house at the New Jersey at Propellify. That was amazing. And then we were full house in Times Square. Then we were full house at Catch for our VIP dinner while everybody else had full houses around the country.
Yeah, first of all, I love getting to spend time with you. And for the Propellify event, it was cool because you did a fireside chat with Craig, the founder of Happy, and I love that conversation. Usually you're the one getting interviewed. Just curious, for you, I love the interview so much. What makes a good interviewer?
Oh, you know, it's a conversation. You know, that's what Dane Cook and I have, you know, really rested upon is it's a collaboration and a conversation. You know, a lot of people think whether they're being interviewed or they're there. That was a fireside chat. So although I like to take control of a conversation to bring out the best and allow people, Craig is really good as well, you know, of doing the same thing. So it was really easy. I knew since, you know, the guy named his company Happy, it was not going to be hard to find lessons and stories. And that's all you really want to do is get to the lessons and the stories and, you know what people are listening for, what the person you're having a conversation with, be more interested than interesting.
Yeah.
But you know, most people in interviews or fireside chats or collaborations or conversations, they try to be interesting and they bore people.
Yeah, amen. I loved it. Love the interview. Love the VIP dinner. Great people there. Marquise Colston, awesome panel, and all great things.
Yeah, that was
and,
the biggest panel. I would love to be a running back behind that panel.
We're pretty big.
Yeah, man. I mean, you and I are already small, but man, those guys are humongous.
Yeah, they are. But
awesome.
also good humans too.
I'm getting to my office, so thanks for your patience.
My pleasure. I'm going to bring on Dr. Patrick when this party's continued, and
all right,
let's keep it going. We will not be the smartest cats on this line anymore, Dave.
Nice. Now you're talking.
Yeah. Dr. Patrick, how are you?
I'm doing well. Nice to see you guys.
Great to
Thanks
see
for
you.
joining us. Happy Saturday. Where are you dialing in from?
I'm calling from New Bern, North Carolina.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
You
Before
know where
we
that
dive
is, Craig?
in, what do you say, Dave?
You know where that is?
I'm familiar with North Carolina.
If you take a ride from Raleigh to the ocean, just before you drop in the ocean, you drive through our town.
Understood.
It's a small little town. We're actually putting together 88 acres here for a wellness retreat. It's beautiful. Dolphins swim by every other day, so it's one of those great things. We can take our biohacking and we put all of our equipment out there, and it's going to be a great place. Yeah.
Sounds like a perfect environment. Love it. For our community that might not have been familiar, do a deep dive, play catch up. Dr. Patrick is on fire. Before we dive in, a couple of quick questions for you. Real quickly, what are you personally most excited about right now?
Well, I'm excited about, for me, I love science. So I'm excited about the fact that we can now measure when people say they're doing something with their physiology, their psychology, we can actually measure if there's a movement for that. And I think that the metrics, and people can have them at home now. I mean, so you don't have to go into the clinic to get it. People can take control of their health. I think I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, beautifully said. You're glowing, so I can absolutely tell. Diving into some of the juicy stuff, I was telling Dave, we're definitely not the smartest cats on this live, just the way we like it. One of the many cool things that you talk about is what happens to the brain as we begin to age, Doc?
Well, just from regular metabolism, we're going to have a lot of stress build up and a lot of basically circulation issues in the brain. If they're happening in the body, they're happening in the brain. So the main thing is that we're not getting outside and getting enough light. So the mitochondria, as the mitochondria curve, if you think about it, we have a little spin wheel in there that makes our ATP, which is what our brain needs. As we age, that can go down 32 times less. And so with the technology, if you get outside in the sunlight, what the sun does, it hits the Krebs cycle of that cell. It can speed that up and actually give you 32 times more energy at the cellular level. That's why getting outside is so important. When people say, why is it important to get outside? But we can hack that now, of course, with biohacking. We can use red light therapy and other technologies, infrared light and things like that. But getting outside is one of the biggest things, especially if you live in a place that doesn't have sunlight, seasonal affective disorder. So as we age, that metabolism slows down, and that means that we have what's called neuropruning. Most people don't know what that term means, but that means that our brain is unwiring. And unfortunately for all of us on this call, it's been happening since we were born. When we were born, we were totally wired. Most people think we wire ourselves up when we learn. That's not what happens at all. Our brain unwires for us to learn things, not rewires. That's why we have to have a lot of energy to make changes. Like when somebody says, when you present a concept, I tell people, remember the moment, if you can remember the moment right before you found out Santa Claus wasn't real.
He's not.
Before that moment, right? You believe this impossible thing that this guy went around the world and put presents under your tree and you put cookies out for him and milk and everything was fine. And then the next moment, boom, your brain had to rewire itself because neuroscience says the whole brain has to rewire from one new thought. So as we get older, it gets more and more difficult to do that because that takes energy. As a kid, we can do that. We can make those what we call transitional shifts in consciousness. You know, like when somebody's like in the case of making money, some people have a glass ceiling. They make that money, then they ruin it because their brain doesn't have the capacity to handle or manage that neural network. It's a whole new neural network. We need to rewire it. That takes energy. So as we age, that energy goes down. We can measure energy in our brain actually. So that's called mitochondrial release. But most people don't realize that when we're younger, we have 18.1 volts across our hemispheres. I just had somebody in the lab last week that was 3 volts. So I mean, and they were still functioning, which was incredible to me. That was the lowest I've ever seen a brain, function at.
Yeah, well, my brain is certainly functioning after hearing that on this beautiful Saturday morning. Dave, what's on your mind?
Well, first, I only have one question. There's not a Santa Claus?
He's hanging out with the Easter Bunny right now. They're having a tea party. So
okay. What's so interesting, and I'm blessed to do work with Dr. Joe and others, and on the Transformational Leadership Council on this quest for over 15 years of figuring out how to quantifiably measure how our system utilizes the stream of intelligence that comes from, whether you believe, I call it my cloud, other people call it the Akashic Records or whatever the stream is. But the customization is so important in the quantifiable measurements because, you know, in the past, we've been able to, hey, one a day, this supplement, one a day. If you are a man, this one pill, one a day, will allow you to have longevity, happiness, health, wealth, and worthiness in your life. And what I love about technology is it takes the trillions of variables that we are, the fingerprint that we have become, and it allows us to get a personalized look at where we are today. And then it also allows us with sustainable measurement to see the clues and the patterns of who we are. Because, you know, as you know, when we take a blood test, whether it's live or dead blood cells, it is still a snapshot. And if you ate something beforehand, you may get a false reading. And so I was curious in those two realms of being able to customize and personalize, but also to utilize a snapshot in order to facilitate one clue to then utilize as a pattern to help facilitate the anomaly of one a day. But now we have so much more power in living a bigger and better life.
Sure. Yeah, let me take it up a level for everybody so they understand. We
No
are
problem.
we are not only consciousness, we are light beings. It's been proven in science. This isn't a metaphysical concept any longer. I tell people, take that for Sunday, that's the beliefs. This is science. Every cell of your body has a mitochondria. That mitochondria is not us. 55% of who's sitting here watching this video is not you. So that light energy is being absorbed and transmitted. We now know that that system is actually broadcasting information to the cells of our body. Now, to take it up another level, just because it's Saturday morning, we want to take it into cartoon land. The sun is our mitochondria for our solar system. And what I mean by that is our sun is not just pulsing light, it's not just streaming light to our planet, it's pulsing information to our cells. It's telling our cells what to do. For instance, if we don't get to sleep by 10 o'clock, we don't make as much melatonin. If we don't get to sleep by 11, we don't cleanse our liver. If we don't, when we're in bed at 2 in the morning, our temperature increases 2 degrees, anywhere we're at around the country. This is all done by the light frequencies of our sun to our planet. Now, think of that. Now, our solar system, we have 75 trillion solar systems or more that make up our body. And they're all getting information from somewhere. You're the MiFi, like you're calling it. I love that. I love that term. I'm going to steal it from you. This, and I'll give you credit, Dave.
You don't need to. People steal from me all the time, but that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I said there's a difference between original thought in speaking, right? You got to have 3 or more sources. So here we go. So as we're talking, so what's happening here is when we change one parameter in our thought process, we either upregulate, because now what they know, back in 2003, we discovered the human genome, right? Everybody said, wow, we mapped the genome. It was only 1%. Could you imagine graduating from college? You answer one question on the test out of 100 and they give you your diploma? They would never do that, right? Right. Well, they might today, but they wouldn't when I was in school.
Right.
You know, I would have failed, I would have bounced. But what they found out in 2018, which is incredible for everybody on the call to understand, they realized that 99% that they said was junk DNA is not junk at all. It's actually changing based on something biophotic exchange on that light frequency I'm talking about. It either upregulates your genetic or downregulates your genetics. So you have the propensity. So if you're doing something like breath exercises, cold plunge, red light therapy, brain tap, it doesn't matter what it is. Whatever you're doing, you can now measure that mitochondrial release, but it shows up in your physiology because that's gross matter. But we're talking about we're not gross matter as a being, but that's what we shows up and we can test it. And now what's showing now is that consciousness is when these 75 trillion cells coalesce and vibrate and resonate. And then we have intelligence. And then when we get into a room, like if I was in the room with you, David, and we were there talking, we would be sharing on a biophotic level. That's why some people just go, I just want to sit with you for a while. I just want to go to a movie with you. I just want to be with you because we share information in the field. And now they're proving this in science, which is incredible to me because my dad was a Silva method instructor. So I grew up seeing auras and seeing little guides that are around you and all the craziness. And, you know, my dad used to run a thing in Kalamazoo, Michigan called ESP Forum. And we bring the craziest people you'd ever see in the 70s. I mean, you think stuff's crazy now. It was really crazy in the 70s, especially in Michigan. You know, so what we found out was there's all this unseen world. And now we're measuring it. So consciousness is being boiled down. When you think about quantum physics, it's becoming more like the Vedas, more like spiritual teachings. You know, so I think these two are going to merge. And the new science is now spirituality, and the new spirituality is now a new science.
Yeah, it was fun. I went to Sedona last weekend and had a little e-reader in my aura and a picture taken of my aura, which was all green and yellow, which is an objective of mine to stay balanced in studying the Tao and other things in my life. And it's so interesting because I didn't understand fully as much as I've studied, and they gave me a 24-page report about the significance of the chakras and the auras that I carry. It's so interesting how light carries information. And one of the things that comes to mind, not only is the sun, is sleep. And I think that one of the greatest ways to accelerate, aggregate, and compound what you want in your physical lifetime is what you do with your sleep. And most people go to bed at night tired and they wake up more tired. And it blows my mind that they're okay with that. How does sleep utilize the mitochondria, the information? Obviously, there's not light usually. Usually when we sleep, there's no light, but I imagine there's a significant amount of information that is transferred and transmitted while we're sleeping.
Yeah, one of the things that's incredible about us as our physiology, we generate our own light. So Virginia Hunt at UCLA proved that when we slow down our brain waves, like going into the sleep cycle, a few things happen on a spiritual level, if you will, or on an energy level. Your body is actually recharging. So think about it like you just put your phone on the charging unit. You put your body on the charging unit. Now you have to get out of beta consciousness. That's a fear, frustration, and anxiety. So if you don't have brain tap, what you can do is you can do like a 4-8 breath. You breathe into the count of 4, breathe out to the count of 8. That breath is going to put you into a parasympathetic state. Then what you want to do is you want to tune your frequency, which is usually something like gratitude or love, what happened during the day that you're positive about. If you can go to sleep with those frequencies, then the body, we've all fallen asleep on the couch to a movie, like a military movie, and then we wake up in the movie because the brain takes whatever you're doing at the last moment and it incorporates that into your dreams. So why don't we use this 100 billion neurobit processor to process what we want out of life instead of what we're given out of life? So that's part of it. Now, the other thing is that as you're going through these brainwave frequencies, something magical is happening in the body that nobody's talking about. There's 3 things I'm going to talk about. Number one is we are building up our neurotransmitter bank account. They say we have a mental health disorder out there on the planet right now. It's not a mental health disorder. It's a physiological problem because people are sitting too much. The brain needs to move and breathe. That's why they did things like yoga, Tai Chi, movement therapy. We got to get up and exercise, get that BDNF going in our brain. These are things that cause neuroplasticity to happen. But when it's time to recover, the reason our partner, like Tom Brady's group, TB12 is our partner in sports, is because we show how to accelerate recovery. That recovery, that sleep time is when you incubate your superpowers. So if you're going through trouble right now, you're going through trials and tribulations in your life, congratulations. And I think you even said that in one of the videos on your Instagram that I saw. This is the time to celebrate because the universe is now showing you what your next lesson is. Your job during sleep is to, like the great inventors of all the past have done, you go to sleep with a problem, you wake up with a solution. Now you have to act on that solution. The problem is most people don't want to act on that solution because it might be difficult for them. And people would rather go down the rut of everyday life than make a change and a transformation. That's why that sleep is so important. You need to have the energy to neural prune the problem states in neuroplastic, the positive states. And this all happens through energy transference. So when you sleep, now the main thing, number 3 thing that I want to talk about with sleep that's so important is, could you imagine in 2015, they found a new part of the human body. If you go back in time on 2014 or earlier, they did not know that we had a lymphatic system in our brain. If you go back, every physiologist on the planet will tell you wherever there's a blood vessel, there's a lymphatic vessel. Now, for those that didn't take physiology, lymphatic vessel is like the garbage man of the system. If that's not working, it's going to back up. You're going to get lymphoma, is the really bad case. At the worst case the most case is going to be weight gain because you can't get rid of the toxins. But in your brain, what they found out in 2015 was a landmark study they did, and they put it in American Scientific, page 45. You can go there and read it. There's a whole article about it that talks about the garbage man of the system. It only operates at level 4 sleep. So if you don't get to level 4 sleep, you're not detoxing your brain. And there's a lie about sleep that I need to make sure everybody knows. The biggest lie about sleep is you need 8 hours to sleep. That is a lie. The studies show 6.5 hours is optimum for longevity. But the problem is people don't sleep efficiently. We did a study in Australia, which blew people's minds because these were coal miners. They went to work in the dark. They worked in the dark. They left in the dark. They were in bed on an average of 10 hours a night. Guess how much deep sleep they got? On average, you did 2 week washout step, 1 minute. So
I thought 3 minutes.
they had 1 minute of deep sleep. So they were in bed, but they weren't sleeping. That's like I tell people, you know the old expression, you might be working, but so does a washing machine, but it doesn't go anywhere. So you have to we want to go somewhere when they're doing it. So what I tell them is we're going to forget about sleeping for 10 hours. If you can get into that deep rhythmic sleep cycle, like through that breathing exercise I told you about, using brain tap, using binaural beats, using whatever method you can, the sooner you can get into that first level, deep level 4 sleep, your body will then start getting rid of toxins. Now it happens in bursts. So it's not like it's going to happen like for an hour straight. It's going to be little microseconds. If you've ever woke up in the middle of the night and you couldn't move your body, you woke up in the middle of a cleaning cycle.
Nice.
Because imagine your brain has to go offline to get rid of the toxins because it protects you. Now, if we do that for 1 hour, if we have 1 hour of deep sleep, 2 hours of REM sleep, I guarantee you will crush any metric that's out there. The Oura Ring, the BioStrap. We've done tests with all of them, and we showed them it doesn't even matter if you watch a scary movie right before you go to sleep. If you do like a brain tap session and go to deep delta, it's a how quick can you get to delta? And then the brain will take over from there because the brain has an innate intelligence. It knows how to sleep. I mean, nobody taught a baby how to sleep, when it's sleeping well. So we need to learn to get back. And the one thing is that I tell people when we went to school, we were taught what to learn. We weren't taught how to learn. And so every night when you go to sleep, I teach a very simple technique. When you go to sleep, review your day, everything you're most positive about and passionate about, make it bright, brilliant in color. I was trained by NLP professionals, Richard Bandler and John Grinder. So, I use all those NLP things that people know about if you know NLP. And then if something negative happened to you, now's the time to deal with it. Don't think on the physical plane you have to deal with it. You have to deal with it on the energy plane because you don't want to take that negative stuff with you into sleep. So what I do is I teach them to reframe it, and I literally have them put it into a picture frame, put it behind you as black and white. But most importantly, what did you learn from that? Because the brain basically keeps score, and it keeps score in your body. So if you have an ailment in your body, that's the scorecard. Oh. You're doing something in your mind. So if you can release that, and one of the best things you can do is forgive people, because guess what? They're doing the best they can with the information they have. And if you understand that, and don't try to control things that are out of your control. My dad was a very gifted alcoholic. He could get drunk even in the best of times. So if you have a bad pattern, you can make that instrumental, or you have to put the effort in to saying no to certain things, but saying yes to yourself. And what you want to say yes to is those positive memories, because every day I guarantee you, in the news, if you're feeling too good out there right now, I do have one tip for you. If you're feeling way too happy, excited, your life's going too well, just turn on the news. They're going to depress you in less than 5 minutes.
Watch the debate. Watch the debate. I also, before I let Craig go, I will tell you that most 35-year-old Jewish men, they also discover a new part of their body finally as well. So very close to 2015. It's very interesting, right, Craig? That's right. Yeah, what I said.
And no, this is unbelievable. We're gonna bring on our second guest, but Dr. Patrick's on an absolute roll here. You're more than welcome to hang out if you have some time. If not, this was awesome. And just real quickly, tell our community is the best way to get involved and support you.
Yeah, they just go over to Dr. Patrick Porter over on Instagram. They can like and friend me there. They can go to BrainTap and try a free trial for 14 days. It's no cost to them. If they don't like it, just cancel. But we find about 70% of the people like it, and they'll keep playing it and help you to get your brain into some of the states I was talking about here.
I love it.
So thank you.
Genius, man. We got to hook up. I'll have you on other shows, man. What incredible information. Thank you for clarifying so many things that I do and I want to do. So just genius. It was amazing. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. See you guys later. Bye.
Wiz, how you doing?
I'm good, my brother. What's going on?
Thank you for your patience. Dr. Patrick was on a roll and let him rock, but thank you for being here. Where are you dialing in from?
Boca Raton, Florida, God's waiting room.
Oh, very nice. Right. Yeah. For our listeners that might not have been familiar, Wiz is Top Gun, and we're super grateful and excited to have you join us. So thank you for joining, brother.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed is people that are in the military and stuff like that have a very difficult time transitioning after. You've been able to do it very well, or what looks like to be very well. What has been your secret to be able to transition so effectively?
My transition to civilian life, the secrets to doing that successfully were to fail horrifically. So I had a horrible transition out of the military. I left active duty. I flew F-18 Hornets for the United States Navy, and I left active duty in 2000, and I won the lottery. Winning the lottery as a fighter pilot back then was getting out and getting a rich airline job, and also getting a job flying fighters for the reserves. So I got picked up to fly the F-18 out of Naval Air Station Fort Worth in a reserve squadron. And the morning of September 11th was my first and last flight for American Airlines. I saw the second plane hit the towers, and I raced out to the Naval Air Station, got out there as they went to a combat posture. Me and another F-18 buddy made it out there, and we called down to maintenance and told them to get the jets armed and ready to go. And then we ran next door to an F-16 squadron, an Air Force Reserve squadron that was dialed into NORAD. So we all got armed up. The F-16 guys got airborne first, and me and my buddy sat at the end of the runway fully armed and ready to go. So I went from potentially flying in an airliner that day to shooting one down, to maybe even shooting down a squadron mate. Most of the buddies of my reserve squadron were flying that day. So imagine being ordered to shoot down an airliner full of Americans, let alone flown by one of your best friends. So a week later, I got a photocopied letter from American Airlines HR that said, dear crew member, you're furloughed. And furloughed's a polite airline term for laid off. So when I was on active duty, I taught myself how to trade. Instead of sitting in the ready room with my boots up, just shooting the shit, I said, you know what? Let me learn about finance. So after I lost my job at American Airlines, I applied myself to my trading, and it worked really well. And eventually I popped up on the radar of a Chicago options trading firm. And so I went up to Wall Street. And this will tell you a little bit about my transition, because I went from a fighter squadron where the guys and gals are in that organization because you trust them with your life, where they're not part of that organization, they're gone. I went to a Wall Street firm where I couldn't trust a guy to watch my wallet, when I went to the bathroom. I mean, these guys would push their own mother in front of a bus for a buck. So that was a pretty tough transition, to go from having no mission, no brotherhood, no camaraderie, to money and bullshit. So it was tough. Drugs, alcohol. I was in a pretty bad place. Before I went up there, my dad said, who passed away the year I went up there, he said, you sure you want to do this? And I said, Dad, look at all the zeros. And God bless my old man. He's like, it ain't about the zeros, son. So kind of a miserable time up in Chicago. And then I moved down here to South Florida and started my own financial company, because I just couldn't deal with the ethos of the people on Wall Street. So it was a tough transition.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing the vulnerability part. Dave, you know a thing or two about transitioning as well.
Yeah, I actually redefined it, since so many veterans that I've worked with, athletes and veterans especially, that are used to not only routines, but also they have a high sense of desire that they must be what they can be. So if you take athletes and our veterans, our military, especially, it's a very difficult thing to expand their skills and knowledge with that desire into an apathetic, uh, interfering, scarce environment, because there is not even a comparison of leadership, teamwork, ethics, discipline, all the
Right.
characteristics, ironically, that it takes to be successful, make them
Exactly.
unsuccessful and miserable on Wall Street, in the corporate boardrooms that I see. So, one of the simplest things that I've been able to do as a coach, mentor, and teacher to those athletes and our vets is, hey, let's not focus in on what's outside of us. Let's go back and look at our skills, our knowledge, and our desire. Let's expand, not transition. Let's expand those to align it with the systems that best suit our skills, knowledge, and desire. What's doing well today? What is stable today? And what do we think is going to doing well? And believe it or not, um, your journey is exactly what I try to get people to do, is to look and see. And your dad had that wisdom because he's probably my age when he gave it to you. He gets it. And I know Craig went through that journey. He was on Wall Street. I live by the zeros. I was worth over 100 million, and I used to tell my wife, she's like, "How was today?" I'm like, "Our bank account went up." Like, what fucking difference did it go up $100 or $1,000? And then she would say the next day, "How was today?" "Oh, I'm miserable. My bank account went down." Sometimes it went down $100.
Yeah.
I had 8, 9 figures. I'm looking at it. It went down. I'm like, "Oh, miserable day." And I myself had to transition, but really expand the skills, knowledge, and desire that I learned. For me, it was on the field, about a desire that I must be what I can be, teamwork, discipline, ethics. And ironically, I ended up breaking all the things that made me: alcohol, drugs, strip clubs, all the things I did were breaking me, were exactly what I didn't want and didn't do to get to where I was before. And I think it's really a testament to you and your success that you were able to do that and expand into Boca Raton and your own financial business to empower other people and help them the right way. So congratulations, just super proud of you. So thank you.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Absolutely.
And with not everyone, especially veterans, of why they're able to eventually get to where you are. I imagine that's one of the reasons why you started your foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. So about 4 years ago, uh, in 15 years of flying fighters, I lost 16 brothers. Not one combat loss, not one. Weather, stupidity, mechanical, more weather, more stupidity, more mechanical. And along the way, I lost 3 F-18 brothers to suicide. My best friend, Eric Swenson, Captain Eric Swenson, Marine fighter pilot, beautiful bride and 5 kids, put a bullet in his head. So, uh, 4 years ago, the government numbers were 22, approximately 22 veterans were taking their lives every day. That's essentially a mass shooting every day in the veterans community. So 40 years ago, I said, I'm going to do something about this. I made some money on Wall Street. My dad also said, Matthew, you're not a pharaoh. They're not putting that money in the casket with you. You're not taking it. So I said, you know what? My wife and I said, let's throw this money over the fence and start a foundation. So I started a foundation to try and end veteran suicide. But I didn't know, what do you do? Like, buy suits, help them write a resume. I was absolutely clueless, but I knew I wanted to do something. And right around that time, a close friend of mine said, hey, man, there's a group of Navy SEALs, Navy SEAL veterans who go down to Mexico and they do psychedelic assisted therapy. And there's a really cool group going in a couple of weeks. Do you want to go? And I said, go to Mexico and do drugs with Navy SEALs? That sounds like a fucking great weekend, man. Sign me up. But I had absolutely no idea what I was in for. So I'm glad I'm on this interview today, because yesterday was the anniversary of Operation Red Wings. So if any of you have seen the movie Lone Survivor with Mark Wahlberg, I went down to Mexico with Marcus Luttrell, the Lone Survivor, Jared Taylor, JT, from one of the founders of Black Rifle Coffee, and another Navy SEAL veteran, and an NFL player that was suffering from horrific CTE, and flew into San Diego and drove about an hour south into Mexico. Why? Because if you do these medicines in San Diego, you're a felon. If you do them an hour south in Mexico, they'll save and change your life. So I went down to a place called the Mission Within, and I had, without a doubt, uh, the most spiritual, life-saving, changing experience. I had a lot of military trauma, but guess what? As a kid from South Jersey, South Philadelphia, Irish Catholic kid, six of us, I was an altar boy, the whole 9 yards. I was sexually abused as a child, and then my sister Monica was killed by a drunk driver when she was 19. She was a freshman at Villanova University. So I had that childhood trauma, then I had the military trauma, then I had the bullshit on Wall Street. I'd kind of lost my faith. What kind of God kills my sister? What kind of God allows me to get molested? What kind of God kills my buddies? So I lost my faith. And the medicine I sat with called Ibogaine, I spent 12 to 14 hours with my sister, with my father, and with God the Father. And it was an ass kicking. It was not fun. It was tough. And Marcus and JT and the other guys, man, they sounded like they were they were killing some demons, man. And the next day at breakfast, everybody looked completely different human beings. And I looked at Marcus and JT. I'm like, "You boys good?" They're like, "Never better." I'm like, "Sounded like you were in it last night, killing some demons." And they're like, "Yep, that's exactly what we had to do." So I sat with Ibogaine, and then a day and a half later, I sat with 5-MeO DMT, and I experienced absolute, complete unity with Source. And I've never, it was a peace I've never felt before. I got back from that retreat, and
He's too popular. Got a call.
yeah, did that go away?
We can
You
hear you
guys hear
now.
me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I came back and I started the No Fallen Heroes Foundation to provide healing grants to veterans, first responders, and their families. Why first responders? A lot of gals and guys leave the military. They take off that uniform. They don't take off the trauma. And they go home and they put on a state or local uniform as a first responder. I have a Marine buddy who said, dude, my 20 years in the Marine Corps were a joke compared to my time I spent at Miami Fire Rescue, what I saw people doing to kids and each other. So we provide grants to veterans, first responders, and their families. And these families serve Gold Star families, Gold Star parents. Um, so we give those healing grants. And I'm proud to say for the past couple of years, we've been forced to go to Mexico and to go to Costa Rica because, as I said, it's a crime in this country. But thank you to the great state of Oregon and Colorado. I just got back literally 3 days ago from our second healing retreat in the great state of Colorado. So that's what I did to try and put the ladder down to save and change the lives of our veterans. And let me end on this real quick. A year and a half ago, a couple small mom and pop colleges, the University of Alabama and Duke University, dug into Uncle Sam's 22 a day number. And it turns out that Uncle Sam was only counting violent suicides. So when these two institutions went and dug into the numbers and talked to people, unlike our government, people were like, no, that guy drank himself to death or she overdosed. Those two institutions say the number is closer to 44 veterans a day, which is obscene. It's a mass shooting. I hate even talking like this. If 44 children were being slaughtered every day in schools around this country, even the pro-gun nuts would go nuts and go, we have to do something. But since it's the veterans community, the military does a good job training you to do some awful things to another human being. And when they're done with you, they do a pretty shitty job of transitioning you back to a human. So it infuriates me that the No Fallen Heroes Foundation, I'm running around begging for donations to try and help save and change the lives of our veterans when I see what's going on in our country or over in other countries overseas and all the wars going on. We need to fix our shit here first. I mean, we need to take care of our people first. So that's kind of my transition and how the No Fallen Heroes Foundation came about.
Yeah, thank you, brother, for all that. And it reminds me of, I was checking out your content, which I suggest everyone do. And you said the only person that could heal you is you. And it kind of applies to what you just said, just based upon how the veterans are treated and so forth, similar philosophy.
That's exactly right, man. I had a tough year last year because I was helping veterans. I was going on these retreats and for whatever reason, I didn't think they were healing. I was carrying on a lot of, it gets heavy, man, when you're on these retreats and you see the horror that people are releasing. So about a year ago, I went down to Costa Rica and I sat with Iboga, right? Iboga. It's the most powerful psychedelic on the planet. And on the medicine, God, whatever word you want to use, universe, source, creator. It's so funny because the most agnostic, atheist people that sit with the medicine come out and they're like, I'm not going to call it God. And I'm like, okay, don't call it God. But there was something, some source, something of love that I was with. I'm like, okay, choose your word. But on the Iboga, God came to me and said, Matthew, I love what you're doing, son. Keep up the good work. You can't heal anybody, buddy. They have to want to heal. And I got that half of it too, man. So keep doing what you're doing. Bring them to the door. Carry them on the path. But once you get them to the door, man, I got to take it from there. So that helped me as part of my healing, man, because I was carrying a load of stuff around. And you absolutely nailed it, man, that people have to want to heal. And you gotta get up, man. It's inside you, I guarantee it.
Yeah, love that. It's an inside job. Brother, so much respect to you. Thank you so much for your service, for everything that you're doing now. For our communities, what's the best way for everyone to support? How can they get involved? What's the best way for them to catch on?
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow me. Somebody just asked for my handle. It's official_Whiz Buckley. And then No Fallen Heroes is our Instagram. I strongly recommend, if this calls to you at all, my podcast is called the Max Afterburner Podcast. Episode 7 is where I debrief that medicine journey with Marcus Luttrell and JT, and it'll really blow you away. You know, I got to be honest, man. 4 years ago, if I saw me on an Instagram live talking about psychedelic assisted therapy, I would have kicked my own ass and taken my lunch money. I'd be giving me a wedgie right now. But that guy died on a floor of a home in Mexico on a mattress. And I am here to spread the word. I'll be brutally honest, man. These medicines are not for everybody. There are so many different healing modalities. You can meditate. You can do hot yoga. You can walk on the beach. You can climb a mountain in Nepal. There are so many different ways to heal. But I like to tell people that radical trauma might need some radical healing. And to be clear, these medicines, it's so funny how ignorant we are in the West. Like, we just found these. These medicines have been used for thousands and thousands of years to heal people. And, imagine the hubris of man. God put these plants on this planet for us to heal. What do? We make them illegal. So it's interesting because I'll travel to D.C. a lot to advocate for this therapy for veterans. And the Democrats are already there, obviously. And, the Republicans, I get a little bit of the anti-drug kind of look behind closed doors. Like, isn't it drugs, Whiz? I'm like, dude, I got my ass kicked for 12 to 14 hours. You're not taking Ibogaine and going out and having fun, man. It's the most important work you're going to do in your life. And then after I give them my 5 to 10 minute pitch, they usually come around. But this is what they tell me. And they'll look to their left and they'll look to their right and they'll go, well, Whiz, I kind of love this, but you're going to have a problem with the big pharma folks and the alcohol and tobacco lobby, you know? And I'm like, isn't that your fucking job, dude? That ain't my job. So, you know, ask yourself why these medicines, besides Oregon and Colorado, and I think now Arizona, remain illegal at the federal level. Big Pharma wants you on the payroll, baby. They want you on this stuff for the rest of your life. I will tell you that Marcus was on 15 meds. He took 5 when he woke up, 5 for lunch, 5 to go to bed. Marcus Luttrell hasn't taken a medication in over 3 years. I was a drinker. I'm not proud to say I don't know if you can be a good drinker. I sucked. I was a bad drinker. Up to 8 months after the medicine, looking at a bottle of alcohol or even smelling it made me dry heave. It is a complete system reset. Now I can have a glass of wine with my steak or something like that, or some pasta. But old Whiz, a glass of wine was about 2 to 3 bottles. So it destroyed alcohol in my life. So anybody who's got any sort of addiction issue, heroin, alcohol, porn, caffeine, look into Iboga or Ibogaine. And like I said, on the Max Afterburner podcast, you can watch a bunch of content from veterans, first responders, and family members debriefing their medicine experiences.
I love it, brother. Thank you for all this. We'll put all that in the show notes, and I'll collaborate with you so our community can get involved and so forth. Again, thank you so much for your service, for your vulnerability today. This was awesome, and I'm looking forward to doing a lot more stuff with you.
Bro, hey, come down to South Florida when you get a chance. We have a No Fallen Heroes Foundation fighter jet. So I'll throw you in the back seat and we'll go up and bend the jet around and pull some G's.
How far is that from Miami?
It's up in Pompano. It's 45 minutes to half an hour.
Okay, I might be there sooner than later. We'll connect after and we'll exchange numbers.
Awesome, bro. Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me, and Fights On.
My pleasure, brother. Have a great weekend.
God bless. We'll see you.
Bye, guys. What an awesome episode. Probably the longest one we ever had. 2 awesome guests. Go check out all the stuff they have going on. Thank us later. Thank you, Uncle Dave, for the consistency as always. You'll have to excuse my puppy in the background going absolutely berserk. And let's have a great Saturday, guys. To challenge our limitations. Let's think bigger. And let's tap into something much, much, much bigger than we're currently settling for. Love you guys. Have a good weekend.